so far on their ban list, they put out a public blog post threatening to sue me.
And they kind of killed the P2S with the new X2.
X2D.
The X2D.
Now,
that's
they
hilarious.
didn't name me. They said, there's a content creator out there they were the first ones to put time lapse on a printer from the factory. The comments were whining about.
I can't believe this cheap crap. I can print better than that at my home.
No. I did show some VFAs on there. Like, hey, if we can sell VFA parts in a retail store, y'all are way too anal about your damn machines. All right, cut it out.
Yes,
but that was the first time, outside of like the little wiglets and stuff like that I've ever seen. This product had packaging. It had, shelf-based packaging and individual packaging. Now, it's PLA. That ain't gonna last in Florida, I'll tell you that much. But it was the first time that I've seen a 3D printed product being sold as a regular product. And that was the most unique thing for me. So like wiglets, very clearly, these are 3D printed. It's a big part of it. You go to gift shops and stuff, they're 3D printed. It's a big part of it. This was not. They did not discuss 3D
like a
printing.
regular off-the-shelf product.
Yes.
You wouldn't, had you not known. They had 3D in the name, but it was 3D wind catcher or something like that.
Oh, okay.
It was not 3D printing. They were not leveraging 3D printing for marketing clout.
That's never been a leveraging point for marketing clout.
Well, okay, fine.
But 3D printing has never been a feature. It has been people... There was like a cool cachet to it for like a moment of the nuance of it all, but like anybody who ever leaned on that was definitely going to die. Yeah.
The moment I see anything that says 3D printed thing, I'm like, not buying it.
I can make it at home.
No, it wasn't it. It was just like, if you're selling it on the fact it's 3D printed, it's a gimmick. And I don't like the fact that people are like, oh, injection molded thing. It's the same feeling. It's just, stop telling me how you built it and make a good product.
Yes. Just make a good product. That's the thing. The process has nothing to do with the performance of the product. Who cares? People, the product design hasn't caught up with what 3D printing can do yet. And the reason 3D printing has such a bad rap is because people have been trying to 3D print injection molded designs or traditionally made things.
They're not doing DFAM.
You're not using the process. You're using sheet metal design for a CNC part. Why would you do that? So it's like, and I will need a better analogy for that because that's still two-way engineering-y, but I need a broom and vacuum analogy for this whole situation because I haven't figured out the tagline for that.
Dude, I don't disagree with you though. It is kind of ridiculous how crazy, like we will get designs in that are, you can see they're drafted. There's no sharp corners. I'm like, oh no, this is... And like, they don't have any undercuts either, but like they don't understand. They understand the process of making DFM, design for manufacturing. They do not know how to do design for additive manufacturing. And
correct.
We've said this for many years now. I think the next kind of frontier for this industry is the education. The education is not caught up at all with
That's
what
why
the
we built the
machines
YouTube channel.
Same
That was
thing.
the entire premise for it. Yeah.
Same thing.
We built the YouTube channel as a sales channel. We were answering the same emails over and over again, and I was just like, I'm going to answer the questions in a video, we're going to edit them up, and then we can explain it to the person without having to write an email.
That's why we started our podcast. 10-episode podcast, Gabe. 10 episodes, baby. Episode 259. Which you all should like and subscribe, obviously, if you're still listening this far. It's funny. We started for the same reasons. Like we took the 10 most common questions that we got asked and said, I'm making a 10-episode podcast. And whenever someone has this question, I'm going to say, go watch this.
Watch that video.
And if you don't watch it and you tell me to answer the question for you, sorry, I've got other things I need to do. Right? Because you likely saw this. The biggest factor, how much time can I get out of a day? Right? 16 to 18 hours on average at best. Right? You ain't doing any better without some booger sugar, okay?
Yep.
Further, you now to say, how do I maximize that time? Well, if I'm going to answer the same shit over and over again, I'm not maximizing my time.
And we did templated emails, all the rest of it, but it also let our sales team be dumber. Like, they didn't have to understand it.
Yep.
Like, they're just like, go watch this. That answers the question. And now, again, like, you're seeing it with your content and the fact that you're so findable on AI. But now I'm like, we're going to download the transcript of every one of our videos, and there is an intelligence in our company that is able to answer any question from any client ever, because we have 3 years in deep engineering of all this stuff. It's done.
See, that's where I wish we took advantage of AI more than we have. That is such an easy way. The amount of phone calls, my Bambu's broken, can you fix it? Yep, we can. $80 for us to look at it. I recently raised it from 75 to 80 because 420s is a lot easier. And they're like, we don't pay you up front? No, your printer's your collateral. You don't pay me, you don't get your printer back. I'll sell it. Yeah. They're
That's
like,
actually a good way to do it.
Yeah. And
that is a good way to do it.
And if the printer is not worth $80, we're not taking it in anyways.
Yes.
And
that really filters folks.
Yeah. And do I want a bunch of Bambus? No, but the Bambu owners want them back. Pretty easy to fix most of the time, but it's time.
Once in a while, you get some of those lemons. Yeah.
I'm well aware. Aware of the Bambu lemon.
Good times. Do you think the Bambus have gotten worse in the last couple of years?
I don't know.
We were benchmarking some PS2s the other week, and I was just like, this is kind of my default explanation of what a consumer machine is like. And I used to think Bambu was better than that. And I'm just like, no, if I run 10 machines continuously for a week, 3 of them will be jammed or broken or busted in some kind of a fashion. If I run continuously 10 P2Ss for a week. And I thought they would be a little bit better than that. And we weren't doing anything gross.
That is literally my experience with them. But I've gotten from brand new to like when they came out all the way up to the new ones. They've not been overtly special.
Yeah.
And I think it's just because, as I found initially, their print profiles are trash. They're too fast. They grind a lot of the filaments. Yes. They care too much about the speed and the aesthetic of speed and not the aesthetic of the part or the quality of the part.
This is what I attribute to Bambu. Their full secret to success is they made the first 10 minutes of ownership perfect. You can the pull out of the box and it starts printing immediately. Yep. That was the only thing that they perfected. Without the print speed, all the rest of it is nice, but ultimately kind of limited and a little bit not true. To where I was just like, no, they made the first 10 minutes of the user experience perfect. So everybody thinks the machine is amazing because everything after that doesn't matter. You don't remember that or don't think about that. It's your first interaction with the product.
I think Bambu, I don't know if they've perfected the 10-minute out of the box. I mean, they have, right? I think what they've done is they perfected marketing. They've perfected the marketing.
The fact 100%. That they have Bambu on the side of their extruder head in the time lapse, which no other machine has done yet.
They were the first ones to put time lapse on a printer from the factory
as a shareable feature that could immediately go to social. It was so easy. Beautiful.
It was easy. You wanted to live stream it? Here's an option to do it. I do think that their 1080 Ti, right? Still the king of graphics cards. Yeah. Literally, you are watching a stream encoded on 1080 Ti's. Well, one of them. I only have one in this computer. But yeah, the X1 Carbon was their 1080 Ti. They will never make another machine as good and as value oriented as that. The P1S, same way. That's why the P2S is like, dude, they're losing money on these machines. They have to be.
Yeah.
Right.
And they kind of killed the P2S with the new X2.
X2D.
Did they? X2D.
Oh, yeah, you're right.
Because
they may have.
It's only slightly more expensive, and then you get the Bowden extruder, which is better. Yeah. Because now you can do supports on a Bowden extruder.
It's also funny to watch people, oh my God, it's got a Bowden extruder. Yeah, you all used to bitch and moan about that when they first came out. Now, all of the sudden, Bowden's cool.
It's not.
It's
still not.
I understand why everybody dislikes Bowden, but the Bowden has like all of that is fixable in Slicer.
Oh yeah.
Like literally, every quality problem with a Bowden extruder from that control is fixable in the Slicer, and what isn't currently fixable could take a simple software tweak and it would fix it. Like I am an avid believer that the seam lines at the end of each thing right now, or loop lines, instead of ending at the end, Just give them a dog leg like that inside of the part.
Yep.
And then you fix every seam problem forever. And it's the simplest little update that we haven't had time to do, but we need to push it to Orca one of these days. Those types of things. And then you can use any extruder you want on any crap machine you want, and print quality is perfect. And the seam never goes bad again, regardless of what material you're using.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think Bambu is responsible for the renaissance that we're seeing in the industry, and they deserve all the praise and thanks for that. But they started in a quasi-walled garden, and all they've done is they've built their walls higher and higher and higher. And they've done it in a boiling a frog kind of way, right? Where they're just slowly raising the temp so you don't realize it. And like, we used to always get a bunch of shit for ragging on Bambu. Like, you're just being too mean to them. You're not giving them the benefit of the doubt. So in this video, I gave them the benefit of the doubt. And now I'm getting all this saying, oh, you're being too nice to them. They're being malicious. Like, I can't win on this. Either I got called a Bambu shill. I got called a Bambu shill multiple times.
That's pretty surprising for you.
You don't. Yeah. You clearly must be new here.
Yeah.
I am so far on their ban list. They put out a public blog post threatening to sue me. I am oh yeah.
They did. They did.
Oh, that's hilarious.
Yeah. Now, they didn't name me. They said, there's a content creator out there who's, saying wrong things about our product. We are, digging into legal action if we can take legal action. Yeah. I'm like, go to hell. We exposed a very obvious issue in your code. You patched it 48 hours later because you clearly knew what it was. And just, and like for this, what did this fork of Orca do? This fork of Orca made every single instance operate as if it was on Linux. Because the Linux version of Orca Slicer was able to bypass Bambu's thing, right? Their security thing. And it worked. And it's in Bambu's AGPL code. So all they did is they just made every, communication with the machine over Linux. They're not reverse engineering. They're not doing anything. It's in the code, right? And sure, maybe they're violating a TOS. Who gives a shit, right? But Bambu has effectively won this. I'll be curious. It's a TOS. Ooh, big deal. Who cares? I hope that this person actually goes and goes after Bambu, but they did take down the repository because it's not worth it. It's not worth it. Is it worth your time as someone who's doing this for fun to go to war with the largest 3D printing company in the world? Hell no.
Isn't that hilarious? Bambu's 3-4 years old now as the largest printing company in the world. As a hardware company or anything else. That's bananas.
Aren't they 6?
What do you mean?
Jacob, when did you launch Construct 3D?
We launched 3 days before.
I know. What year was
Bambu
it, Jacob?
I believe it was 2020.
Bambu came out in 2020?
I believe so.
No. What? No.
Let's find Bambu's Kickstarter.
I could have sworn it was like 21.
August 2020.
No.
Gabe is just finding that his concept of time is really screwed.
A little bit. I'm still right about when we did the Centaurs, but I feel like the review, maybe the launch was there, but I feel like it was late 2021, early 2022 when they actually had machines delivered.
Oh, when they were delivering.
So I know we founded our companies almost at the same time.
Jacob, it ended October of 22, you dumbass.
Then it's 22.
Where did you get 2020 from?
Because we founded the companies in 2020 as well.
Bambu was founded earlier.
Oh.
Yes.
Yeah,
Bambu was definitely had 2 years of stealth.
And we launched our products within 3 days of each other.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay, so May 31st of 22. And so, 4 years, almost to the day, 4 years. We're a couple of weeks out of that. And they have become the largest 3D printing manufacturer by
a mile.
Oh, yeah. And they perfected the one thing that nobody else did. Penetrating markets outside of 3D printing. They sent printers to every big influencer in, the woodworking industry where 3D printers clearly should have lived. Yes. And they caught the rest of the industry with their pants down. Like,
But they had perfected that first 10 minutes to where those people who were not 3D printing people could immediately think, oh, this is great. And yeah. But this is like the whole thing with the printing industry too. Like I didn't consider the Bambu print quality to be that much better than like top print quality at the time. And
at the time?
when it went...
I mean, at the time it was better, but they shipped with matte filaments.
People in the desert,
made things look amazing.
The matte filaments did everything.
And yet
another one of the
still
simple little moves. What do you mean?
Their basic PLA, the Bambu PLA, it's all matte.
Yeah. Yeah, totally. Yeah. It should be. It never shouldn't be. And that's again them being like, that was like kind of the silent thing of like they're not catering to the 3D printing industry at all, because everybody's just like, that's not going to be strong, and who cares? You're just hovering layer lines or whatever else it was. I'm just like, no, they're giving it to every other human on the planet who wants to print a thing, and they can just get a part that will work.
That's true. Pile 3D. I actually still have it. The original X1 carbon shipped with carbon fiber nylon.
Oh, it did?
And PVA supports. They cut that out later down the line as a money-saving thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. The first one, and carbon fiber's the same way, right? You put carbon fiber through anything and it
makes everything pretty.
Oh my God. Yes. I wish we could just print nothing but carbon fiber filled filament. We would, I don't care how bad your printer is tuned, it would still look good.
Yes, this is your yearly reminder that carbon and glass fiber filled materials was an additive to make material cheaper. Mm-hmm. It wasn't to actually increase strength. It was to pad out a base polymer to make it cheaper and easier to work with.
You know what's hilarious is that there's an even better solution than the glass fiber or carbon fiber. You can use basalt crystals inside of it, which are fibrous crystals, which do the exact same result. They just don't sound as good as carbon fiber. We've been working on this over in Tangled, and we're like, we just want matte filaments, and I want a very low content so it's still strong and not a matte garbage thing that breaks up the surface finish. So we've been fighting with this, and I was like, we need glass filled, and the guys were just like, I know some salt crystals that aren't toxic that are way easier for us to extrude and way better for everybody else to use.
They're not going to destroy our barrels. Amazing.
Do that. Yeah.
Do it now.
Well, not even the barrels, but like just the extrusion of it itself, or the handling of the carbon fiber powders and that kind of stuff. You get rid of all that problem because people can just go inhale the salt crystals and it won't matter, as compared to the glass or the carbon fiber, which is a little bit bad.
J.E. Palmer says there's no gator net. Have you seen gators climb? They don't care. They'll climb the fence, man. I've seen gators climb fences before.
We were at gators. Really?
Oh yeah.
What's one of those things look like when they try to tip over the top there? How do they even get that?
Please tell me they just flop.
Oh yeah. They just
Please tell me.
Yeah.
Oh,
they're not very flexible, so they'll kind of get to that teetering point. Then you just kind of see them, jiggle a little bit. Then just. But see, then you have to also look at, is your fence strong enough to support a large gator?
Yeah.